half, those are just like, it's aerobic, but you don't have to worry about fueling. So, but it's all aerobic training and keeping your speed up and hill work and all that stuff.
Okay. Um, and since we well, at least on the promotion of this event, we said that we could have LeadVille 50 as a case study. How was it, and how did you prepare? For example, Mandy, taking into account that it's like a 50-mile race.
Mm-hmm.
What was the starting point when you said, okay, so we have 50 miles? How can we prepare someone, for example, Mandy, to run and at least go there knowing that you are ready to finish, at least finish?
Yeah. Yeah, it was tough because we didn't have a perfect build up. She did this big mileage challenge in, like, I think it was December
Yeah.
or like late December, and she did something incredible. She ran like 170 miles in a week, I believe it was, followed by like another 100+ mile week, and it was nuts. And then there was one day where she was like 50 something, so she really cranked that out. And then she raced well again after that. She had this one with a ton of vert. I don't know, it was like 4 or 5,000 vert, and she finished that. But then started getting some injuries popping up, so we were a little lower on the mileage side in the 50-mile buildup. So one thing, if we could go back for like for the next one for next year, is we're going to do more mileage for sure. Um, and then I think a big thing that helped was just doing really big long runs. Even if like you had to shorten some of the other days during the week, but being able to hit like a 30 miler, something like that, 25 to 30 on a Sunday was really helpful. And then one thing I learned too is I would do even more hill workouts with her in general, long hill workouts. We did a lot of short hill strides and a lot of like 30-second hills, 50-second hills, but I would probably incorporate some even longer ones, like 2-minute hills, if we can, if you can get that where you are. Not
Yeah,
everywhere.
let's do
Little.
that.
So more hill work. The volume's important, the long run, and then I think you got to keep in the economy work, we call it, even in there, like the strides and stuff, so you can like maintain your speed. It was cool to see her getting faster in the workouts, like the flat stuff, even on the track and during the farlex. So it was cool to see her just getting quicker all around.
Okay,
Yeah.
and before just passing the micro to Mandy, and again, John, Miki, just interrupt me saying, Francisco, shut up. I have a question. Okay, please do it. Um, what
He says,
what
please do it.
yeah. What would you say that it's like the main principles of like a training plan for an ultra running race? You would say that is just like you said, a long run on Sunday, hill works, of course some like speed work on like flat track, and in the end just try to put as much miles as possible. Or you would say that, and again, we are not talking about professionals. We are not talking about someone that is like freaking professional that wants to go for the first place. But what would you say that's like the starting stack for preparing ourselves to do like a 30-mile or 50-mile trail running race?
Are you asking Mandy or me?
You, Chad, yeah.
Oh, okay. Let's see. I would say the process is, I'm trying to think how we went along the whole thing. In the beginning, I think you just got to start by getting your volume up a little bit. I would say for most people, that's 50 miles a week is the minimum, and then I'd say you could do more, 60, 70 a week. Um, and it also depends how fast you're running, because it comes down to how much time you're spending on feet. So somebody that's running 8-minute miles versus somebody who's running 11-minute miles is going to change things a little bit. So it's about time. But yeah, I'd say the first thing is just getting your volume up a little bit while staying healthy. And what we kind of do is I focus on a lot of like glute activation, glute strengthening, and then like weights and strides in the beginning. So stuff that just helps you run properly. So like a lot of what happens with people is like when you start running and you start running more, you get weird like patterns, like your hamstrings and your quads will be doing more work than they should be, and you need like your glutes to activate. You need certain hip muscles to be activating like stabilization and stuff. So there's a lot of that, and then a lot of people get shin problems when they start too. I got that in high school, and like I'd say half the people I coach that start up for the first time, they're like my shins are bothering me. So a lot of it comes down to like keeping the calves loose. So yeah, the beginning is just building and staying healthy. So you just got to be patient with that. You got to be willing to give yourself a few months to like build up to where you're ready. So that's one thing, patience. And then as we go, we'll start incorporating more workouts. So like fartleks, working the lactate threshold, because everything comes down to lactate threshold with distance running, really. So working that through fartleks, through hills, through strides, all that stuff is going to improve your lactate threshold and your VO2 max. And those things are ultimately going to determine, how well you can run, how good you're going to feel, things like that. Um, yeah. And then one thing I wish we did with Mandy is during her race, I told her to sit back a little bit and try to roll people at the end. I figured that'd be the way to go with such a long race because you can make up massive gaps. But then they had real strict cutoffs. I didn't realize how strict LeadVille would be with the cutoffs, and they pulled her
Yeah.
earlier. They pulled her at 30, even though she felt fine. And I felt like she was going to start negative splitting, catching people. So that was something that was a learning experience for both of us, for
Yeah,
sure.
I was
We
getting
didn't know.
excited. They were like,
Yeah,
you're done. And I was like, what? What
yeah,
does
Oh
that
wow.
yeah.
mean?
Oh wow.
So I felt a little guilty about that because I thought that would be the better race plan, but I didn't realize how they were pretty strict about the cutoffs more than most races, I think. So,
Okay.
yep.
Yeah,
Okay. Mandy, your turn now.
so exciting.
How was it? Like the overall experience? Even taking into account that in the end you've been cut off of the race, but how was the whole experience from the first train to the last second of Leadville 50? How was it?
You mean like my first run with Chad as my coach?
Well, at least the first training for Leadville 50
Well, I
till.
think we've always kind of been training for these really big, crazy distances. So I don't think that there was ever a point in training where we were like, okay, we're dedicating this block of time to Leadville. You know what I mean? Because I think like when you're training for really long distances, everything kind of feeds into like the main goal, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like there
Yeah.
was never a time when it was like, okay, now we're focused on Leadville, because one of the first conversations we had, like I said, I'm going to run 100 miles on New Year's Eve, which I did do. And then I said, there's a crazy 10-day event that I'm going to do. And then I did that. And so I think like right away at the very beginning of our coaching relationship, it's always been about like, I have to stay alive if I'm going to be crazy. So it's always been about like being strong and being healthy. And so I think my experience of the training, I mean, I feel like I probably have had a better experience than most people that do these crazy things because I have Chad, because I have someone that I can go to. You know what I mean? Like I have somebody on tap that I can text and be like, hey, this is really terrible and I'm never running again. You
I
know what I
know that
mean? Like
feeling. Yeah.
I have
Yeah.
somebody, that knows more than me, that's been the best of the best. I would say arguably still is the best of the best. And I think most people don't have that. Like you have a community,
Yeah.
but I have somebody that knows everything.
Yeah.
So like I
True.
think that
Just
my
by the way,
experience has
Mandy,
been
let me just
very
ask,
good.
like John, Mike, do you have a coach or you just run by yourselves?
I just run by myself right now. I've used some apps that have like training in there, like guided runs, that kind of thing. But yeah, I don't have a specific coach that I'm with.
Okay, you just go with the flow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
trying to learn as much as I can, watching videos and reading things online and trying to pick up from other people, whatever I can get out of them.
Okay.
So
Awesome. Awesome. Sorry, Mandy, to interrupt you. And what, in your opinion, what was the during the training process? Even though you are not like 100% focused on let's focus on LeadVille 50. You like to train, you like to run, you like to do crazy things, so that's why you train. And taking into, so you say, are you saying that LeadVille 50, it was just like a temporary thing to test yourself, taking into account
I
that?
have
Go ahead, go ahead.
I have a lot of thoughts about that because I feel like since Leadville, a lot of people have been assigning, feelings and ideas to my experience that aren't accurate at all. I think the way that I feel, one, I don't just train because I like to be crazy. Actually, I feel like the more that I train and the more that I'm coached, the less crazy I feel
Okay.
because my focus is on things that are actually going to be good for me. And, like longevity, like if I know that I want to be winning 5Ks at 82, then I'm probably not going to be able to run 277 miles in 10 days forever. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, totally.
there's absolutely a cap on that. Like, your body will make you stop.
Okay.
Um, so, I mean, I feel that way. Like, I'm definitely not just training so that I can keep being crazy. I'm training for different things that, for me will be bigger and better. Like, I have other goals too, in regard to, like, when I line up, I'd like to be able to give everybody hell. Like, I want to be competitive. Like, I
Okay.
want you to remember that you had to stand next to me. Um, I don't
Okay.
know if everyone feels that way. So maybe I am still training to be crazy. But I guess as far as Leadville, what I think is that, I mean, it was a temporary moment in my life. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that, I guess I think like if every bit of our training and every bit of my running boiled down to like this one thing, what a narrow mindset that would be. Like I should just quit now if
Yeah.
that's all it was ever going to be.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Also, I think there's no way that you can stand at 12,500 feet and like be able to like I'm yards away from snow and I'm staring at these original mines. Like there's no way that I could be up there and be mad about anything. Like, it's the most beautiful thing. So it's definitely been by far like the best race experience I've had, even though it wasn't what I expected or what I thought it would be. It's definitely been the best for sure. But I do think I mean, not everything is ever going to be about just one race. Everything is going to be about what you do next. Does
Awesome.
that make sense?
Oh, I love it. I love it. Yeah, hands down to that. Hands down to that. John Mickey, do you have any question to ask either to Mandy or to Chad? Any doubts that you might have? Like, now it's your time. If you have any questions. If not, I have thousands. No, no, no. Listen.
We're ready.
Um, well, I do trail running here. I'm in Wisconsin, by the way.
Nice.
So I'm on the Ice Age Trail here, so I've been going out on there quite a bit. So usually in my running, I get 10 to 15 miles, and that's about the max now. What do you suggest to push past that and to get farther, to get up to the 20, 30s, and eventually 50s and that kind of thing? Because I know you said start increasing the mileage per week, and is that just amount of times you go out or length or
Yeah,
both?
it's both. How many days
Yeah.
a week do you run typically?
Right now probably five,
Okay.
6, something like that.
Yeah, I mean, really, it's gonna if you like. I mean, if you're already running 15, 16, that's already a pretty long run.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's like, I mean, as a pro runner, I train for the mile, but my longest runs would only be 16, 17 would be my long run. But
Yep.
I think if you're talking about like, yeah, you want to go to 30 and stuff, you're just gonna have to start doing more runs, and more. You have to run. You got to start running every day, basically.
Yeah.
And then people even throw in doubles. Like you can run,
Right.
60 minutes in the morning, 30 minutes in the evening, that type of stuff. I would say just begin by running 7 days a week, and then doubles later, or cross. You can do cross training doubles to get your aerobic up.
Sure.
I like swimming laps just because it's so hard. Like I'm a pretty poor swimmer, so I
Yeah.
guess it gets my heart rate jacked up. But
Yep.
other people like cycling, elliptical, stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I think another thing that could help is like throwing in some hill strides. That could just helping your strength. And if you ever hit the weight
Yeah.
room, just some real light lifting, like light squats, light core, all that stuff, just helping with your muscle strength is going to help you go longer because your body can just handle more. pounding and everything, you know.
Yeah. The last
So those are kind of
trail race that I did, I felt aerobically like I'd be all right. It was a half marathon trail race, but the hills are what killed me. I thought, you know, doing trail stuff out here I'd be okay, but they were brutal. I was like, okay, I got to do more hill stuff, and so
that a little bit that's muscle strength, and a little bit that can be like you ever heard of glycogen depletion?
No.
Okay, so that's like basically happens to everybody around 90 minutes. Even if you eat beforehand, you typically, if you run, you know, like just a normal easy pace, your heart rate's at like 140, 150, somewhere in there, and pretty much everyone gets glycogen depletion, which just means your muscles are running out of sugar at around 90 minutes. So you start what's called marathoners call it bonking, and so you can train that by doing longer runs. It's like basically the best way to train that is to do longer singles continuously. And sometimes people will purposely train it by going into runs without eating, just like have some coffee and water and that's it. And I will say that can be, you gotta plan that right. If you do that on the wrong day and it's like 90 something degrees, you're like, you can really suffer. I've been there where I was like, shit, like I was walking by the end of it, like I'm screwed. So you just gotta plan it out. But you experience that. Probably pretty hot and humid where you are right now.
This week's been 90s and really humid. So it was about 13, 14 miles, something like that. And I was walking by the end. Like,
oh, dang. Yeah, did you not eat anything before? Like, or not eat much?
I'm still trying to figure that out the best way, too, because I always feel worse if I eat a little while before.
Oh, really?
It just seems easier without, like, you know, like you said, coffee, water kind of thing. I feel better.
Yeah.
I think it just...
I feel like that comes down to just finding the right thing. You know, so some things I found didn't sit that well. Yeah, but some things sit better. Like whether it's some people do well with bread, some don't. Some do well with like milk and cereal, some don't. Some oatmeal. A lot of people do oatmeal. That's a good one.
Okay.
Toast. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've learned like a rule. It's not a rule. Something that nutritionists said to me is that like if you're going out to train in the morning, if it's something like maximum 60 minutes, you just need like a piece of fruit or something that is go beyond 60 minutes, like 90 minutes or something. You should at least like eat bread, like a slice of bread with peanut butter and because
something you can break down, a little bit of carbs, a little bit of
and I know that feeling, Chad, of like you are finishing the training and you feel like empty on fuel. I hate that, and that's why I really take nutrition and fuel very, very, very serious. Any other question, Miki? No questions? No.
I'm sure I'll have more, but
okay. John,
I think that's it right now.
John, do you have any questions?
So I was thinking, if someone is wanting to move up into those longer distances, already running 7 days a week, what's a good daily mileage to put in?
Well, what kind of mileage have you been at so far? Like weekly, would you say?
Normally I do about a 10K every day. That's about where I'm at.
Cool. Just do about the same run every day.
Yep.
Okay, cool. So that'll put you at you're about 45 miles a week. So that's a pretty good amount to get fit. That's like moderate, I'd call it. And then I'd say a good breakdown is you want to do one long run that's about 20 to 25% of your weekly mileage. So that would be like 11 for you. And you could hit usually like a weekend day would be easiest for that. But you want to do a longer run that works that glycogen depletion, like I said. And then I would say the other days, the typical way I structure, I'll just say the typical way I structure a week is like it'd be Tuesday, Friday would be like workouts. It's like some sort of interval, tempo run, progression run. It could be all sorts of stuff. And then Sunday, a long run, so you get a day of recovery before and after. And that's typically up to a quarter of your weekly mileage. And then the other 4 days are basically just like recovery runs. So you run a little bit easier to recover. And you can also follow the recovery days with strides a couple times a week. And the strides are good because they just help you work your mechanics and your efficiency. It just makes you faster, basically. 15 seconds, 20 seconds, not at a sprint pace, but a little bit like, I would call it mile race pace, if you were to race a mile. So you're not sprinting, but you're not tempoing either. You're practicing good mechanics, arms 90 degrees, knees up, hips under you, head up, all those things. Yeah, I would say. And then, I mean, if you wanted to, you could throw in doubles. There's some real benefits to like short, really easy runs, like really easy recovery pace. And what that does physiologically is a thing called stroke volume. Because when you're racing, your heart can only max out at around 200, and so you just can't go any faster. So one of the things that helps there is if the chambers get bigger by training, and that's where the stroke volume comes in. So the amount of blood pumped per beat increases, and they found that the most effective way to do that is really easy running pace, like 120 beats a minute, 130 beats a minute, like just jogging around basically. And so if you hit that in doses of just like 20 to 30 minutes of just doing that in the evening, that's really effective. Yeah.
Thank you.
Wow.
Yeah, no problem.
Wow.
I told you.
Yeah, I didn't know about that. I didn't know about that. By the way, because I know that this was something that we talked already on our community. What is so magical about the strides? Like,
Yeah, the strides are magical because they just do so many things and they're so easy. You do 15 to 30 seconds at like a mile race pace, and they help with efficiency is the biggest thing. It's called like economy is what a lot of coaches will call it, and that's just your ability to run like a fast, like a middle distance race pace while also being like relatively relaxed. And then it helps your form, which helps you therefore be faster over any distance, really, whether you're running slow to sprinting and anywhere in between. And then also it helps you stay healthy, because it's kind of like an activation thing, and just like it kind of goes along with that thing. Like you literally, it's the best way I would say to get better at running, like the skill of running. Like if anyone can tell you, like you guys have probably experienced this, if you take a long break, like if you take a few months off because you had an injury or a sickness or whatever, and you come back and you kind of feel like a baby deer on the first few runs, you feel awkward. Like I'm like, oh, my like arms feel off, like I feel more wobbly, like all sorts of things like that. And then the strides, that shows you how there's that skill of running, and the strides are what work that. So you're spending such a short time doing it that you're not tired. And I also tell people what people often do mistakenly is they take too short of rest in between them, so their heart rate's still jacked, and they don't get the proper mechanics, because the point is to do it pretty fresh. So you take enough rest in between each one, your heart rate comes down, your breathing comes down. Not to full rest level, obviously, because you're doing something hard, but low, so you can just practice really good mechanics while you're doing it.
okay, wow,
Yeah.
okay.
So
Love the
I was
science behind it. Yeah.
trying to get my thoughts on the right path for that.
I have a question, and it's for both of you. But let's start by Mandy. How was so point A? How did you prepare yourself in what regards like nutrition? That's A. Mentally, that's B. Okay. How was the preparation in what regards like? I'm going to for the whole race. This is what I'm going to eat. Okay. So how did you prepare for that? And second thing is how do you prepare mentally for this race? And the question then to Chad is how do you prepare mentally your athletes, or how can an athlete prepare himself or herself mentally for a race? So Mandy, we start with you.
Okay, so specifically for the race?
It's a tough question.
Nutrition, yeah.
Yeah, well, nutrition, I don't change anything. Like, I literally, like right now, I'm eating like way outside of what I would normally eat for lunch. Generally speaking, I eat the same thing for breakfast and lunch, and almost exactly the same thing for dinner. So during a race, I don't change much. So the night before the race, I ate a lot, and I ate dessert, and I made sure I had sugar, but it was still like within the same realm. So, but I wouldn't recommend the way that I eat to everybody, because I eat specifically for endometriosis and anti-inflammation. Wow, so that means I avoid red meat like the plague, but I wouldn't suggest that to anyone ever because I don't think that that would be the healthiest thing for everyone. But for the race itself, um, well, I have honey stinger, so they send me stuff all the time, and so I knew I would be eating a lot of waffles. But I knew also probably around mile 13 usually is when I start to feel really bad, usually between 13 and 20. So one of the things I really like to have during an ultra is mashed potato burritos,
Oh, I know that
which
already. Yes.
it sounds disgusting, but they're beautiful because you put salt in them. You make it like you make mashed potatoes, so it's a ton of salt. It has a little bit of butter. You can add whatever you want. I mean, you can put bacon in there, which I think is what psychopaths do. And then you wrap it up in a burrito, and then you just put it in tinfoil in your drop bag, and it's there. And so that was probably the funniest thing about LeadVille is because when I got to my drop bag, I had these mashed potato burritos, but I was like, I don't have time to stop. So I'm like just running with these burritos in my hand, like trying to eat them. And some dude was like, "Where'd you get those?" And I was like, "My house." So, but mashed potato burritos are definitely a favorite. But I mean, honey stinger a lot. Like,
Okay.
I eat a waffle usually before a long run, and like a piece of toast with crunchy peanut butter. I mean, I'm kind of weird.
And during the race, like for like you eat, for example, every 60 minutes, and you drink water every 30 minutes, or it's just like you don't have any
Don't
plan.
No, I actually really try not to go by feel on that because, like, in a long run, a lot of times, well, one, there's only so much water that your body can absorb over a period of time, especially, I don't know what the science is behind it, but I know that that's true. And so you have to, like, be methodical with how much, water or electrolytes you're taking in because at some point, it won't matter how much you drink, you're just going to make yourself sick. So I try to be very methodical, like every 30 minutes, make sure that I'm drinking something. Or like last weekend, it was 8,000 degrees humidity and in the high 90s. And so, like, one thing that I was doing was making sure that I was using the bathroom like every hour and make sure that I need to go. Because there are things like that that actually really do matter and will affect you if you're not paying attention. So yeah, I really don't go by feel at all. Usually, if it's been 5 miles, if I'm not hungry, I'm still probably going to eat something.
Okay, every
Just
five
like
miles.
if I know I'm going to be
Okay.
out there for a really long time. If
Yeah.
it's only like like Chad said, if it's 10K or a half marathon, I probably won't do anything except water. But if
Yeah.
it's really long, I mean, I have this thing where I'm not like running is not. I'm
Yeah.
not going to die out
Yeah.
there, so.
Yeah.
I just don't go by feel because by the time you feel it, you're already like in the
Dead.
danger zone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And in what regards, like preparing yourself mentally, like how do you just focus on what you need to do?
I think that's a really tough question. I think because that's just kind of how, because I run every day. You know what I mean? Like every single day I'm doing something that's difficult. And so also I have kids and a job. And so I have to make sure that I allow myself to excel in the areas that are the most important to me. So that would be running, my kids, and my job. And so one way that I mentally prepare is that I don't allow room for things that don't matter. Or I
Uh
try
huh.
not to.
Okay.
You know what I mean? But as far as like running and preparing for a big race like that, it really does boil down to the way that you live your life, I think, because you're not going to suddenly, wake up on race day and be like, I can handle anything. And I can, it's a practice to be able to turn off your brain and kind of silence the noise. Like it takes time to learn how to do that. And it takes actually meeting resistance and not backing down from it. So you have to intentionally learn how to be comfortable being really uncomfortable. Like that's not something that you just wake up with on race
Yeah.
day.
Yeah.
That comes in the training.
That's a good point. I love it. I love it. And now moving to Chad, and knowing that potentially you are like you receive more and more requests from athletes that now want to go like trail running, ultra running. And since I know that at least you showed already that you learn a lot about like the mechanics, like the physical side of training, is it also like mandatory for you to now like learn how to prepare mentally athletes? How can you prepare mentally your athletes for such a long effort?
Yeah, yeah. I think a lot of what how I help people prepare mentally is how I prepared mentally as an athlete too, because that is really hard in distance running. Because like every distance race, really any race of any distance, even sprints, you know it's gonna hurt. You know it's just you. You don't have anyone to rely on. There's no team aspect. And there's going to be a lot of people watching you if you suck, if you fail.
Yeah.
And so it's always it's extremely nerve wracking at any level, even small races. But I think the biggest way to combat nerves is preparedness. I think the more well prepared you are, if you know you're ready to go and you can hang in the race and you've done all the right things, then I think that alleviates the nerves. That's really the only way to do it, is like through the action. Like Mandy said, you can't just wake up on race day and be like, all right, I'm ready to go. It's got to be like months, and then some things even years in the making. So, and then I think and it's not like it just comes down to one race, like even people, you see these guys like the Olympics are like, oh, there's 4 years for one race. It's like, no, that's not the case. There's tons of races along the way. And yeah, the Olympics might be the most important race and the race you want to do the best at, but there's a crap load of practice races along the way and races that matter as well. So I think the two things that help the most is I think just getting the experience of doing a few more races. I think each level from high school to college to pro, I was able to handle the nerves better, more just business like, get it done. And they're always still there, and you want them to be there because the adrenaline is going to help you. But you just gotta find that like middle, that middle ground, that flow state. But yeah, I think I just remind people that they've done the work. Sorry, tickle my throat. Like I just remind people they've done the work and they've prepared, and they've usually done like other races, or like if we're not going to travel for a race, you can do what's called like a time trial, some sort of tune up in races, so it's hard mentally, and often that's with no crowd, and you got to do it by yourself, and you got to go hurt and go to the well. So we'll do some sort of workout that's like extra hard, purposely hard, like the race is going to be, or you do another race to prepare. And then so I just remind them that they're ready to go when they get there. And at the end of the day, also, it's not like anything bad is going to happen to you if you fail. You know what I mean? Like typically, unless you're a professional and you're going to lose money on your contract because of it or miss bonuses, for everybody else, it's like nothing bad is really going to happen. You know what I mean? So it's just like, and it happens. So, and it's okay once you kind of like, and once you do fail, once you have a bad race, because everybody does, you're like, okay, this isn't that big a deal. It's not that bad, and it's on to the next one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
that is the thing I think that helped me the most, was just to consider, well, and also, the time of LeadVille was what, like a week or two after the Olympic trials, or what, like maybe a few weeks.
Yeah,
so
it was
like,
close.
I'm watching people fall all over hurdles, and I'm watching people get kicked out of the Olympics altogether.
Yeah, exactly.
So like, what's
Like
LeadVille?
a great
LeadVille's not
example.
that big of a deal.
What I've used as a good example is a guy named Donovan Brazier. He was the 800-meter world champ 2 years ago when they last had it, and he's also the American record holder, and he was the heavy favorite to win Olympic gold this year. And then he got a foot injury a couple months out. I can't remember if it was a foot or Achilles. I think it was a foot injury. I think he basically broke his foot with a stress fracture. But he was trying to run through it so he could still make the Olympics, and he didn't make the team. He got last in the final at the trials, and it was just like it shocked the whole track world. But it's just like that's just the way sports are. You might be the gold medal favorite, and then you might not even be there. It's just the way it is. If it can happen to that guy, it can happen to anybody. So it's just kind of, I think it's a good way to put in perspective. It just helps you chill out.
Yeah.
And it's like, but then when things do go well, which they will, you work hard and you show up and execute, then it's like, then it's fun, and it reminds you like that gets you to keep coming back. So, yeah.
What would be the advice that you would give to someone in what regards like training, like someone who is, for example, starting to go from like road racing to trail running races and then to ultra distances, what would be the best advice to that person? And I would love to, if it's possible, I would love to for you to repeat that training, like week training stack, like for example, on Mondays you should do this. Of course, there's no like one size fits all because it depends on like the distance and so on and so on. But what would be like
like a typical week?
yeah, typical week of training? Yeah.
And sorry, what was the first part of that question?
So, what would be the advice to someone who is now starting?
Transitioning.
Transitioning.
Yeah. I don't think the training changes all that much going from the roads to the trails because I think you might need to do a little more technical runs just to get used to that, and like a little more like up and down. I would incorporate a little bit more of that, just practicing not rolling your ankles, handling the pounding going downhill, and that type of stuff. So maybe more long runs on technical trails if you can find them and stuff with vert. And what's interesting is with Mandy, we're actually doing the opposite a little bit right now. She's been enjoying the speedier workouts quite a bit, the 30-second stuff and all the short, quick stuff. And so she's really interested in trying more road racing. So we're setting up a fall calendar that culminates with the Nashville Marathon, but then we're going to do like 2 5Ks and maybe a 10K along the way. So that'll be fun. Yeah, so I think the training is pretty similar. You do got to change a little bit, some minor tweaks. But yeah, I think you can bounce around too. And then we're still thinking like, okay, let's do LeadVille or something similar again next summer. Like maybe hit one big ultra per year, because that kind of goes along with the longevity thing that she was talking about. It's like, you can only do so many huge races before your body is going to kind of break down. It's just really, really tough. And so I think if you space them out, you're just going to get a longer, more healthy career and not have problems when you're older. So I think it's kind of worth it to pull that back just a little bit.
But wait, and before going to the typical week, what's your opinion? And if John, Mickey, and Mandy, if you have anything to add to this, what's your opinion on because since like trail running and ultra running is becoming more and more like a huge trend, and because of that, we have like runners who run like a race every single week. What's your opinion on that? Because
I think it depends. I think if you make a season for it, you're gonna be better off, which I feel like there sort of naturally is. Summer and fall tend to be more the season, so that's gonna be helpful. Like if you're doing year round, that's probably not gonna be sustainable. Even if you stay healthy, that can be tough to like perform your best. Like you're not gonna perform your best if you are constantly racing. You need training blocks too. And then I think the other part of that just depends on what distance you're doing. Like you could do a mile race every single week and be okay.
Yeah.
But if you're talking like a 50-mile race, then yeah, it's probably going to cause injuries. Probably going to cause wear and tear. So really, that depends. I think if you're mixing up the distances, that can help a lot for sure. Throw some shorter stuff in there.
Okay, makes sense.
Yeah, that's just my thinking.
Yeah. Now going back to the typical week, what would be your suggestion?
So I think a typical week is you do like 2 interval type sessions a day, 2 like workouts per week. So that could be, and it doesn't necessarily have to be intervals, but it could be like, a fartlek, could be a tempo run, could be a progression run, could be a hill workout. Like there's all sorts of stuff you could do, minute on, minute off things. And so I think 2 type of workouts like that per week is good. I typically space them out Tuesday, Friday, just try to get the most amount of recovery days in between. And then one weekly long run, about a fifth to a quarter of your weekly mileage is good. And that works like the glycogen depletion, all that stuff again. It kind of works there's certain muscle fiber adaptations that go on there. So I think that's kind of key. And then I think the reason putting that on Sunday works is because then you get a recovery day the day before and the day after. And another thing is you can bookend a workout and a long run. Like Friday, Saturday is sometimes what we'll do with people, and that can help because you go into the long run kind of sore and tired from the workout, and so you run a little bit slower, but it actually ends up being a harder long run while running slower. So you actually get the benefits of, okay, I'm not running as fast, so I'm not pounding as hard on my legs, but I'm getting just as much work because I'm tired. So my body's having to work harder, like metabolically and at the cellular level and muscularly. So there's some benefits to bookending stuff like that. And then I would say, like, so yeah, then you're going to get 4 easy days, and I think you can throw in strides or short hill strides a couple times a week for. And I usually do those the day before a workout, gets you primed.
Okay.
You know.
Okay. And
Yeah.
if I don't know your opinion on this, but if you so my question is, taking into account that we see more and more information on, for example, zone 2, math zones, for someone who is like trail running longer distances, are you a fan, or what's your opinion on, should we just go on zone 2 for like as a training block, or should we mix like a low heart rate with just like you said, like speed work, technical work, longer runs?
Yeah. I would say on that stuff, so the studies that they've done in the lab so far have kind of always shown that polarized training works better. And that's true for even like swimming and triathletes as well. So you see this a lot with the Norwegians, like the Norwegian guy that just won the triathlon. They use a very polarized system. So I think even when your race is quite long, I think doing more polarized stuff is useful. So obviously your meat of your work is going to be at those slower paces, like, you know, easy training run pace and then recovery pace. But yeah, incorporating like speed work, strides, VO2 max type work, even anaerobic type workouts like mile pace and stuff are going to help you, I think, even for those long distances.
Okay. Okay.
Because you know, like it's just kind of like training doesn't exist in a vacuum. Like just because you're doing this one zone doesn't mean it's just working that zone. Like just because you're sprinting doesn't mean it's not working aerobic at the same time. And it's like I don't know, people just really don't know all the science yet. So it's like it's kind of just like it's a little bit of art, you know. I'd say we only know a chunk of how the body responds.
Okay.
So,
okay.
Yeah. We're still learning.
Mickey, John, before we finish the event, do you have any other question that you'd like to ask? Like, since you have the chance to ask a question to either to Mandy or to Chad, this is your chance. You have 1 credit. Will you take the chance or not?
That's so late.
Yeah, for Mandy, you know, I've seen on a lot of videos for ultras and that kind of thing, they usually get to a point in the race where mentally they're just done. They don't know if they can keep going on, and they have their crew there with them that are kind of helping them. Did you fall into that or have any issues with that kind of thing? How'd you get through it if you did?
Yeah, so I actually don't have a crew. So all these insane events that I've done, I've been out there by myself.
Jeez.
And that makes it like 1 million times harder because I'm fighting with myself. I mean, I actually had that this past Saturday, and it wasn't even an ultra distance. It was just really, really, really hot and humid. And I was like, so, I mean, the short answer is that it really doesn't matter how you feel. Unless it's a health situation, like those things don't matter. That's what I was saying when I was saying, like, you know, I try to only make room in my life for things that are priorities, because like feelings like I can't do this and I want an out are like, they literally don't mean anything and they will not benefit you in your life at all. And so the answer to your question is, what do I do? Is keep swinging my legs.
Sure.
Do it anyway. Because, and I mean, that's, you know, that's what I was saying, you know, all that happens in training and it happens in life. And if you think about the worst thing that you've ever been through, which for me has really helped me a lot in ultra distances, and I think that's why I've succeeded at them fairly well. So, like, the worst thing that you've ever been through in your entire life, whatever race you're running pales in comparison to that. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, it's not that big of a deal. Like, it's temporary, and you do have a choice. You can quit or you can keep going, but what you do about it is keep swinging your legs.
Sure. So, yeah, and well, like you said, that the worst thing you've ever been through, you've been through it, you got through it, so.
Right, yeah, I mean, like, a race is not that big of a deal.
Right, yeah. I've heard people talk about how they just kind of do a evaluation, like start top to bottom, what actually hurts, and usually by the time they get to their feet, they're like, I don't think there is anything, I'm just getting in my own head. So
right, it's really like, it's your head that hurts.
Yeah.
there's at this moment I'm reading the I don't know if you know the book The Rise of the Ultrarunners. If you don't know, it's an incredible it's an incredible book because it's not like very scientific theory side of running. It's more like stories from different athletes. And the guy there, like the author, he says that in order for you to succeed in ultra running races, you need to stay in the moment. Because if you think about the miles that you still have to run, it's going to hurt a lot. So just try to stay in the moment. Um, uh, any other question, Miki, John, before we just we finish this community hangout?
I don't think so at this point. Just thanks for answering everything.
Yeah,
Awesome.
no
for all the
problem.
for all the
It was cool
Yeah,
insight.
no
talking to you guys.
problem.
Chad, Mandy, again, it was really, really, really an honor to have the chance to have you both of you
Yeah, thank you for
available
having us. Appreciate it.
to answer to all our questions. John, Miki, thank you so much for being with us and for joining this community hangout. Just like I said, we will send you more information on the journey. Guys, have an incredible, incredible week. You can go. We got your back. Thank you so much again.
Thank you.
Let's
All
go,
right.
team.
Bye.
Ciao,
See you
ciao,
later.
Mandy.
I'm
Ciao,
going
ciao,
back to
Chad.
work.
Ciao, ciao. Good work. Ciao, ciao.